Welcome to the Mo Show. Today is Sunday, March the 17th, 2022, and very serious, somber conversation needing to be had today, and that's around Brittany Griner. If you don't know, Brittany Griner is a professional WNBA player. She has been in the WNBA for 8 seasons, played collegiately at Baylor University, a USA women's national team Olympian, has gold medals both in Rio and Australia. She's also was a part of the Phoenix Mercury, 2017 WNBA championship, and just really a huge figure in the sports world, but not only in the sports world, just a huge figure in general with her being outspoken around LGBTQIA rights, around equality for women. And just let's keep it real. Brittany is a unique individual um, who has been both celebrated and at the same time has had what many may see as some failures or some misjudgments. A lot of things, not a lot, but there have been things in the media where, Brittany has been villainized, and probably there are some things that she wish she could have done differently. But nonetheless, Brittany is a prominent figure in the world. There are a lot of young boys and girls who look up to her, and she gets a lot of respect from her peers in the WNBA and across the world. Now, speaking of across the world, if you don't know, a lot of WNBA players compete internationally during the off season. The WNBA season runs usually from starting in May. It ends in October. Actually, it ends more in September. Usually, the finals are sometime in September. And soon after, the majority of WNBA players head overseas. Now, the times are changing for that. Not as many are going overseas with the introduction of the new Athletes Unlimited League and just opportunities for players to stay home and do other things that they may be interested in outside of basketball. In particular, today we want to talk about Brittany, who plays for one of the top teams in all of the world, definitely the top team in Russia, and that's UMMC Ekaterinburg. It is it's one of the top teams in the Russian basketball league. A lot of WNBA players have gone through. Allie Quigley plays on that team. Her wife, Courtney Vandersloot, Jonquel Jones, Diana Taurasi has played on that team. Candace Parker, just to name a few. Maya Moore, I believe, even had a short stint over in Russia playing for UMMC. So a team that is known to have a lot of money. It is said that Brittany makes over $1 million playing for that team. It was also rumored that the team actually paid Diana Taurasi to not play in the WNBA one summer to heal from an injury. So cash is not an issue for this team. It's something that they leverage to get some of the best players in the world to come over there and help them win championships, EuroLeague championships, Russian championships. But today we're not talking about championships. We're talking about Brittany Griner's detainment over in Russia. News was released, I believe, on March 2nd that Brittany Griner, USA Olympian professional basketball player, had been detained at Sheremetyevo Airport in Moscow, Russia, for allegedly having uh, vape products in her carry-on luggage. We saw a video that showed some, I believe, Russian custom officials going through what is believed to be Griner's luggage, where they pulled out vape pens that were said to hold cannabis oil, which is both illegal recreationally or any type of way in Russia. Marijuana in any form is illegal, and therefore it was determined by Russian officials that Brittany had broken the law in Russia, therefore needed to be detained. The crazy thing about it is that we did not hear about it over in the United States until about 3 weeks after they had detained her. It said that, of course, her representation knew about it. A few players, probably president of the players union and maybe some close teammates or friends within the league, but they were able to keep this news really tight until Russia released that they in fact had her in custody. And when the war started, I feel like it took a lot of attention away from paying attention to what was happening in basketball. In addition, the league had released a statement saying that all players who were competing over in Russia and Ukraine had safely returned to the United States. So I don't think anybody was really thinking about it, and the assumption was made that all players meant all players, not that one was stuck in detention in Russia. So we get the news that Brittany Griner had been detained on what Russia officials are calling drug trafficking, which is so crazy to think that Griner is in a very scary, for many it would be scary, a very scary situation, and we don't know what to believe. It's often said that what you take from Russia you need to take with a grain of salt. You never know what's true, what's not true. But here we are, and Brittany has not returned home to the United States. There has been an outpour of support for her release. We've heard Congresswoman who represents Houston, Texas, where Griner is from, demand that the government gets involved in securing her return home. But here we are. An article recently came out that was translated that said that they were able to interview Brittany. There was some details in there that, it was good to hear that she is supposedly in good spirits, but at the same time, what can she say to an interview? Says that she's staying with two cellmates who both speak English. They, I don't know, she's allowed to shower 2 times a week. There is opportunity to go outdoors. But just to think, such a star. I mean, she's one of the biggest stars ever to play the game of basketball, has been detained in Russia, and she's not home, and it's been a month. And the latest sombering news that came out saying that she would be held at least until May 19th, which has a lot of implications. I mean, the first is her safety, her well being, mentally and physically, just wanting her to be okay. But what does that say for competing in a WNBA season? I'm sure that is the furthest thing from anyone's mind at this point, but with training camp starting at the end of April, first week of games starting in May, I think we can make the assumption that Griner won't be a part of the Phoenix Mercury this summer. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot to digest here. First, the assumption is that people are innocent until proven guilty, especially in a foreign country, such as Russia, who is currently involved in invasion of a sovereign nation. So, but it couldn't be any worse than this, honestly. We stand with Brittany as her sisters in basketball. But do you think if the allegations are true, you would think like, oh, in America, just some vape pens and some little bit of weed is legal in a lot of states that we can move around, travel without those repercussions. But the rules are different in other countries. And first, we're thinking the assumption is that it wasn't hers. But if it was hers, it's just like, man, come on. It's too risky. It's just too risky to travel with, and it's not something that any athlete wants to be involved in or caught up on. And the implications are too stiff, and so we find her to be in this situation. And I just want to say it's scary. We're scared. I know her family is scared. Her wife came out with a statement asking for privacy at this time, which is totally understandable. We need, so this is the thing. We're caught in between. Do we have petitions? Do we push the government? Do we continue to speak about the story, or do we let it lay low? And I'm just hearing mixed things. One, we're hearing like it's better to not get the government involved so that she does not become a political pawn, and that we let the justice system in Russia play itself out. And first of all, that's alarming. The justice system in Russia to play out. I don't know how we feel about that. Hell, who knows how we feel about that in our own country, let alone another country. But the word is that if we do continue, the concern is that if we do continue to bring visibility and push for the government, that Brittany could be used as a political pawn. That's not something that sounds appealing, or that sounds like that's not what people want to be involved in. But it's like one day is too long, but especially 1 month is too long, and it feels like the U.S. hands are tied. Also, reading now, all of these reports you have to take it as you will, because who knows what's true and what's not. But it is said that the U.S. consulate reps have not had a chance to speak with Brittney or to see Brittney in person, and that only her Russian lawyers, which she has two of, have been able to communicate with her. She also hasn't been able to communicate with anybody from her family. So then it's like, what do we do? Do we push the issue? Do we continue to sign petitions, tweet, Facebook, whatever, write congressmen and women, bring in right news stations, anything, trying to get them to continue to put this on the news, let people know. Because honestly, if this was LeBron James, and we could say that in the basketball world, the impact or the visibility or the stature that Brittney has is equivalent to the top player in the NBA. So LeBron James, Stephen Curry, say it was Anthony Davis, just somebody with a big name that's recognizable. The argument is that if she were one of those players, that she would be home by now. And I don't know how true that is, because I'm not sure Russia really cares if it's a male basketball player. I think they probably feel like they had more leverage if it were a male, just because the attention that's paid to men's basketball in this country. But to have a LeBron James in custody in a foreign country, our government, I would assume our government is acting pretty quickly to get LeBron home. Said that we have some Russian prisoners. Can we do an exchange? Can she be out while she waits her hearing? Maybe they could take her passport and not have her in detention. I mean, it just is. And honestly, Russia doesn't have anything. They're worried about a war right now and the casualties that's happening on their side. Worried about uprising in their own country, which is very, very limited in free speech and free press. But I don't know. It just sounds like, and it feels like Brittney Griner is on the back burner, and that's not good for us. That's not good for her. It's not good for anything. But maybe the larger issue, not even an issue. WNBA players frequently play internationally to supplement their income and the time spent. The WNBA runs 4 or 5 months, 6 months. So there's a whole another half a year where these WNBA players would like to do something, and oftentimes it's foreign teams that reach out to their agents and want them to come join and play with them over in Europe and Asia. So what is there to do? It said that if salaries rise, and the top salary right now in the WNBA is 220,000, I believe, which is it's doesn't. So the first thing you need to do is eliminate the comparison to NBA salaries and just take WNBA for what it is. And what I would say is that the league is continuing to grow. They recently celebrated their 21st anniversary. They have a new collective bargaining agreement where players were really compensated more, almost double than what the maximum was just a few years ago. And so to say there's no progress, I think that it's unfair. Could we stand for continued progress? Absolutely. Absolutely. But to bring that back around, WNBA players oftentimes find themselves in other countries to supplement their income and to continue to play basketball. You want to stay in shape, you want to stay, active instead of sitting around. But there you have it. That's what happens. And these players go over there, they're making good money sometimes, they're having a good time sometimes, and they're just preparing themselves to get back home and play in the WNBA. And it's really hard. You're lonely, you're in a country where they're not speaking your language, you don't have your family, you don't have your friends. If you're married, you don't have your spouse. You can have people come and visit, but it's just not the same. But it's a grind, it's a hustle, it's a testament to the resiliency of WNBA players, where the love of the game is so great that the sacrifices that they make to continue to play the game are really large, and honestly, sacrifices that many people may not be willing to do. So kudos to those players who continue to push for better conditions in the WNBA, continue to chase their dreams and chase their goals by playing by any means necessary. And so we find one of our great beloved players in a tough predicament. And if anything, we should all be thinking about her. We should all be prepared for a call to action if there is one, and just really sending good vibes, having good thoughts. If you're a praying person, sending up prayers. But whatever it takes to, support Brittany during this challenging time, I encourage you all to do so. Love to hear you call in. Let me know what you're thinking.